Good morning. Good
Good
morning. Good
morning.
Good
morning,
morning.
rockers.
Good morning.
Happy Friday.
Happy
Morning.
Friday.
Gonna let everybody in if you can. I know some of y'all are driving, some of y'all are who knows, but if you can put on cameras, it's always fun to see your faces. Renee will be in a little bit. Her team meeting's going a little long. I will probably step out halfway through, but I'll be on my phone because I'm super excited about today. I had my knee surgery, y'all, in September. I had to go get another MRI because they couldn't figure out what was going on. They never fixed it. Like, please tell me how that happens. So
How does that happen?
well, I'll find out today. I don't have any idea. So I'm going to a second doctor today, and so that's what I'll be going to. I was like, oh shoot, it's over this because I'm like, something's wrong, something's not working. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But anyway,
It depends on what happened during the surgery. If they couldn't find something. Sorry, my background is as a nurse in the operating room.
yeah.
So
So don't
it
apologize.
it
Well,
really depends.
he should have told me that. He told me everything was great. Although all I know is the appointment I went to a couple of weeks ago, he's like, this isn't normal. I'm like, you don't want to hear that from your surgeon. So anyway,
Well,
it'll be
something
fine.
something might have happened post-op that through no fault of yours that it may not have healed properly. That's hard to tell without seeing the images.
Uh, well,
But it is a pain in the neck. I'm sorry.
or a pain in the knee.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm going to still lead with gratitude this morning because I am grateful I'm still moving around, walking around. I'm grateful that I get to go see a second opinion and see what happens. So we'll lead with gratitude on this Friday morning. Excited for you all to be here. Thank you for showing up. And let's kick it off with some wins and gratitudes from all of you. Anybody want to share?
Yeah, I'll share. How y'all doing?
Hey, Master. Good morning.
Good morning. I guess I'm grateful for. I had my MRI last Friday and it came back good, so I'm
Okay.
happy. I'm
We'll
happy for
celebrate
that.
that for sure.
Yeah, and a win. Well, I just came back from the Raleigh conference and with ULI in Raleigh, North Carolina. So some great wins, met some good connections. And so I see some potential business coming from it. So I'm really excited about that. And just got a call about a listing. So I would like your feedback, but it's a divorce situation. So when I get off this call, I gotta dig deeper and just to make sure if it's even worth entertaining. So I would like your feedback on divorce listings. So
Awesome. 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 That's good stuff, business. I mean, not good stuff about the divorce, but you know, David, David and Brian, look at y'all raising your hands.
Absolutely. Play by the rules. Yeah, so I actually just got off the phone right before this meeting with a broker I've been working on for 6 months. And he's agreed to meet with Tony King. And so I'm super psyched and see where we can get.
Congrats on that. Here locally or somewhere else.
Local,
Awesome.
commercial,
Awesome. Even
new
better.
homes.
Commercial opportunity for sure. Congrats on that. Let us know
Yeah,
if any of us can help.
thank you.
Copeland in the house.
This market is weird. I wrote an offer on with a client, 70 something days on the market. Then the night before we're going to look at it for the second time, they receive an offer. Then we go look at the house the next day. I get a text while we're in it. A second offer came in. So that screwed up our whole plan. So then we wrote an offer, got a feeling that we weren't going to win, and we have a strong offer, cash close in 10 days.
Oh my
We had to
gosh.
go for the we had to go up to full price and we got it. But I don't think we
Cash
would have
offer
if we didn't
10
do that.
days, you still weren't going to win it?
I don't think so. And we came up cash closed 10 days and we got it full price. So
Okay.
it's hard to figure out.
Yeah, market's weird. That's what makes real estate fun, right?
Yeah,
If it was the same thing every day, we'd be bored
that's right.
and maybe have a lot more hair. Hi, Sebastian. Last one.
Hi there. I'm relatively new to the group, but something that just happened is I recently got my real estate broker's license in Florida, and I listed my friend's home on Friday, and we got 3 offers within 24 hours, and now we're under contract. So it's a really, it's a really nice start to me being licensed in my home state.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you on that. And welcome to the family tribe and family huddle every Friday. So we're glad you're here.
Thank
And speaking of glad we're here, I am super fired up for today's coaching and training session with all of us. I want to introduce you guys to Hunter Webb. He's newer to EXP, but definitely not newer to the real estate world. He's been in the business almost 20 years, I think about 18 years, and last 10 of that has been coaching and training and just elevating people's businesses in a whole bunch of different ways. What I love about him is he thinks outside of the box as well, right? Not just, okay, this is what you need to do. I mean, you've got all the regular stuff we talk about with real estate, but I think this is a skills market in any market that we're in, and you have to think differently and you have to think strategically and you have to figure out how to put all the pieces together. And so Hunter's actually going to be sharing on one of my favorite topics today, but I want to introduce Hunter and say welcome, and thank you for being here. We're excited to hear what you have to share and pour into the group.
Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to be here. A couple familiar faces here, including family. And my first ever real estate instructor, Miss Amber Esparza, was kind enough to give me this opportunity. Yeah, I've been in the business 18 years, worked on a family team, and then spent the last really decade really focusing on training, teaching, and coaching agents. And like Elizabeth was saying, one of the things I really enjoyed about that opportunity is getting to help agents think outside the box. And so that's what I wanted to focus on today. And really excited about the topic and coming up with creative ways that allow you to be authentic to who you are and work with the kind of people and build the kind of tribe and community that will pay it forward time after time after time and help you have a business you wake up every day excited about, getting to work with the kind of people you're about. So I must pull up our slides and we will dive in. I'm very interactive. I'm very ADD. So if you got something you want to pop in and say, type it in the chat. I will try to pay attention to those. But feel free to unmute yourself. Love feedback. Love hearing your ideas, how we can take some of the concepts that we're going to talk about today and get outside the box with it. So let me pull up our slides and we will get rocking and rolling. All right, so we are going to talk today about the who, not how. And the reason why I want to talk about this is I want you to quit being that generic agent and really start to have fun in this business. And one of the things I've noticed in my 18 years in this business when I watch agents sit down and get taught, especially as a new agent, but even I hear the same language when working with veteran agents. A lot of times they are asking about how are you going to lead generate? And one of the questions nobody ever asked me when I was brand new was, who are you going to lead generate to? Um, I think we've all probably been to a class at some point and we've seen an agent that was crushing it doing open houses or crushing it making FISBO calls or expireds or farming a neighborhood. And so we loved the strategy and we went in and implemented that strategy and it wasn't successful for us. And I think that's because we were focused on the how and not the who. And so today we're going to talk a lot about who your who is, helping you identify your ideal client that's going to make lead generation easy. Because I think when you solve this part of the equation, the who, it's going to help you highlight the how. So we've got a couple of objectives I want to make sure we cover today. So first, we're going to understand why clarity on the who makes lead generation easy. In other words, once I figure out who my who is, I truly believe it's going to make the lead generation part of the equation much simpler. Next, we're going to help you identify who might be your ideal client, whether you've already got that who or we need to go out and find them and create that community. And so we're going to spend a little time this morning talking about how to help identify who a great who might be. I sound like an owl this morning. Who. And then lastly, we're going to discuss some simple lead generation strategies based on your ideal clients. So we're going to take a look at some of the more traditional methods of doing it, but then we're also, like I said, I love the outside the box, different ways to go about doing this business that you might not find in a real estate textbook, but that we've seen agents time after time that get outside the box, get creative, they're authentic to themselves, really find success. So we're going to dive in this morning. So why do most lead generation plans fail? Anybody have any ideas?
No follow through.
No follow-up.
No follow-up, lack of consistency. And I was talking with an agent this week, and that's the one thing I think you see, no matter who the agent on stage at any of these conferences are, no matter how they lead generate, the one commonality is that they're going to have consistency. And I think when you're not in a lead generation model that works for you, it's tough to be consistent. Yet if you're creating a lead generation plan based around the who, you're going to be much more excited. It's going to allow you to be your authentic self. It's going to allow you to, more importantly, do what you already love doing. And that's what we're going to talk about today is what do you love doing? Who are the people you like to be around? And how can we help build a lead generation plan that allows you to spend that time in that community, creating that fan base? So most agents, in my opinion, they ask the wrong question. Like I said, every class when I first started, it was how do I want to lead generate? And we never really focused on the who am I trying to attract. And so today, that's where we're going to kind of shift that focus and flip it around. We're first going to answer the question, who do I want to attract? Which I think is going to really help lead to the answer, how do I lead generate? And we're going to talk about maybe some brands outside of just real estate that I think do a good example of that. And then we're going to talk about the 1,000 fan theory by Kevin Kelly and why that's important in figuring out your who. I think successful agents, one, they do everything consistently, but successful agents know exactly who they serve. They understand their problems and their needs and what opportunities those clients have. And then they build strategies around those people. If I were to open up any type of business, one of the first things I want to do is create that avatar for who my ideal client is. If I ran a Old Navy clothing store, we would gladly sell jeans and sweatshirts to everybody, but we're going to have an ideal target client. And yet I think we as agents, sometimes we get overgeneralized. I remember my first year in real estate, they would ask you, what kind of real estate do you want to do? And I would raise my hand in the back of the room, and I thought I was a pretty smart kid. And so my answer was, I can do everything. I can sell you a 800 square foot townhome. I could sell you a 6,000 square foot McMansion. I could sell you a lakeside property. I could sell you a commercial building. I could sell you a golf course home. I could help a first time home buyer. I could help a move up home buyer. I could help a senior looking to downsize and start the next chapter of their life. And I thought when I gave that answer, man, I patted myself on the back and nailed it. And what I've come to realize over the last 18 years is by answering it like that, what I was really telling people was just kind of generic. I don't really have a focus. I will take whatever low-hanging fruit I can find, and I don't really specialize in any type of property or any type of person that I help. Thus, I'm not really attracting anyone. By trying to do everything, I'm failing to attract the right people. And when you go back to that saying, successful agents, they know exactly who they serve. That allows me to really understand, research, understand that clientele's particular situation. What are the problems they're facing? What opportunities are they looking at? And then help build strategies around those people. So I want to show off a video. You've probably seen this ad. This is a national company. I wanted to pick somebody that we would all know. So let's watch this ad from Jack in the Box, and then we're going to have a little discussion around it. Yeah. I'm going to make sure I've got my sound share on. Yeah, now we should be good.
Yeah, can I get 99 tacos for 2 cents?
We can't do that.
I'm looking at the sign, and it says 99 tacos for 2 cents.
Dude, it's 2 tacos for 99 cents.
That's even less.
Pick up 2 of Jack's classic tacos. They're totally tasty, and at 99 cents, totally affordable.
You weren't really going to eat 99 tacos, were you?
No. Yeah.
the point of that wasn't to advertise for Jack in the Box, but I wanted to ask a few questions now that we've seen that commercial. Would it be a fair statement to say that Jack in the Box will happily sell tacos or burgers or French fries to anybody that walks into their store? Could we all agree that Jack in the Box does not discriminate when it comes to who buys their product? I'm seeing lots of yeses in the comments. Absolutely. However, does Jack in the Box target everybody with their ads, or do they have a specific profile of who they think is most likely to want to come in and buy Jack in the Box tacos? This isn't the only ad they've run like this. They're looking for that younger millennial, um, late night. They even talk about 99 cents for two tacos. So they're talking to somebody who maybe income isn't all that high. They're not talking about the quality ingredients and the quality service you're going to get at Jack in the Box. They're talking about the fact that you can get two pretty crummy tacos for 99 cents late at night as you're driving through the drive-thru. They have a whole menu called the Munchie Box menu. They've used Snoop Dogg in multiple ads. So Jack in the Box, while they are happy to sell hamburgers and tacos and milkshakes to anybody, they really, as a company, kind of have focused on we know who our avatar or who our ideal client or what we call the who it is. We're going to talk about understanding their problems. They understand that that crowd typically are working service industry style jobs. They might have more late night hours. They might go out and party, and finding cheap food options at 2 a.m. as you drive through the van with your van is not always easy. And so Jack in the Box, while they're happy to sell food to everybody, really understands kind of who they think their product is for, and they put out content designed to attract that particular avatar. Doesn't mean they're not going to work with everybody, but they provide content for a specific avatar of a client. Who that client is, they know it, they put out their product. Yet when we go to most agents' pages, the good ones, you can kind of go through their Instagram, their TikTok, their Facebook, their LinkedIn, go onto their website. The good agents, you kind of know who their avatar is. Yet I think for most of us, if we were to be honest with ourselves and we go look at our own social media, we may kind of not really be telling our people who we service and what we do and how we do it. We may one week have a picture of a couple $1 million homes. Then the next week we do home tours of little condos in downtown. And then the next week here in Texas, I'm out shooting a farm and ranch. Could I sell a client a farm and ranch product? Absolutely. But even though I'm from Texas, lived most of my life here, I've never owned a pair of cowboy hats, don't know how to ride a horse, never owned a pair of cowboy boots. I show up in my orange car and people are going to know pretty quickly I'm a city slicker, I'm not a country boy. But yet I see so many agents that they want to be all things instead of scaling it down. And so that's why we're going to talk about this morning the rule of the 1,000 passionate fans by Kevin Kelly. Has anybody ever heard of the 1,000 true fans principle? It's Kevin Kelly is kind of the creator of this principle, and it basically theorizes that you don't need 1,000 leads, you need loyal advocates. True fans are going to refer you, trust you, and most importantly, return to you. And so I want to tell you a little story about a podcast here in DFW that over the last couple of years I think really exemplifies this 1,000 true fans principle. And it's not the most attractive name, it's called The Dumb Zone. So if you grew up here in the DFW Metroplex, there has always been a sports station called The Ticket, 1310 or 96.7, and they're the number one station in DFW year after year, month after month. They've just crushed it in the ratings. And one of my favorite shows on there involved two guys named Dan and Jake. And about 4 years ago, Dan and Jake had a contract dispute with Cumulus Media, which owns The Ticket here in Dallas. And The Ticket in Dallas averages monthly close to 1 million listeners. So they have a huge, wide swath of audience. Dan and Jake were happy being on the radio. They were making good money. but they wanted to do things differently. They saw where the future of radio was going. They saw that broadcast terrestrial radio was being replaced by podcast, and they wanted an opportunity to continue doing radio, but to also build out their podcast. And Cumulus came to him and said, "No, we're not going to pay you to do a podcast on the side. We want you to focus solely on the radio." And Dan and Jake made the decision that day to leave a station, leave the mothership, as they like to call it fondly here in Texas, and go out and do their own thing, and created a podcast. And I think they call it the Dumb Zone, but I think they're pretty smart guys because I think they really understood that 1,000 fan theory. They realized that yes, by leaving the ticket and leaving the millions of monthly listeners and the already built-in audience, but creating a podcast that they could build that loyal fan base, that loyal community. So they've been doing this podcast now for about 3.5 years. And the crazy thing is they've gone from 1 million listeners on the ticket to, I believe, last I looked last night, they have just over 7,000 subscribers. Each one of us, I am one, we call ourselves the DFs because we're big Dumb Zone fans. And of those 7,000 subscribers, we pay $10 a month. So they're now generating $70,000 a month in income. And what's been really cool is the community they've built. The other month, they did a deal where they were going to a Whataburger here locally in DFW, and they were giving out what they call car trays. And as a real estate agent, if you've never had a car tray, I'll try to grab mine off the wall here when we in class so I can show you. This is a shameless plug for a product I get nothing out of, but it is a tray that hooks up to your steering wheel so you can eat lunch while you're staying in your car. And I think as agents, we definitely do a lot of lunches in our car while going from showings and buyers to picking up that new listing. So they were doing a giveaway at a Whataburger, and they had 150 trays and said to get there at 11 o'clock and you'll get a car tray. I showed up, I think, at about 10:15 that morning, and there were probably 300 to 400 people already in line. They've created a passionate community. What's been really cool is watching, and we're going to talk about this when we start talking about some outside the box ideas. The people that have advertised, they've created, yeah, they're not paying what they were paying the ticket to do a live spot on the ticket, the big radio station with 1 million listeners. Companies were paying $25,000 to get their ads read on there. To do it on the Dumb Zone, you're paying 1/100th of that. Yet we had over one of those advertising companies to our house the other day to work on our HVAC, and I was asking the guy, you've been advertising now for about a year and a half on the Dumb Zone. How has it been for you? He said that he and his company are tripling down on the spend they're putting on the Dumb Zone because they've never met a more loyal and more passionate community. Because I've worked in real estate for 18 years. I've got plenty of HVAC guys that I have worked with. Yet when it came time for my personal home to need our HVAC service, I went to the Dumb Zone community and I wanted to support the people that are supporting the community I'm a part of. That's the kind of community when we can build that as real estate agents that can really expand our business. And the cool thing about building these kinds of communities of passionate, loyal fans, I don't need all 9.5 million people in DFW to want to buy a home with Hunter Webb. If I can find the right 300, 400, 500 person community to build that are passionate about how I do business and the ways I built that community, they're not only going to do business with me, but more importantly, those are the kind of people that are going to refer business, they're going to repeat business, they're going to sing your praises. So it's building that intimate community around like-minded folks that I think agents really, when we tap into that, really allows us to A, have more fun in this business, and B, help a lot more people. So whatever city you're in, if it's Austin, if it's Orlando, if it's Portland, Oregon, I don't need the whole city to think of Hunter Webb when they think of real estate. If I can find that right group of 300, 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000 people, 7,000 people like the Dumb Zone that are that passionate that they will leave a radio station that I've listened to that station since I was. Man, my dad would play it in the car when I was 12, so I've grown up on the ticket. Yet when Dan and Jake left and created the Dumb Zone, I was so passionate about the community they were creating that I left an allegiance that I had had for 25, 30 years listening to the ticket, all to go follow them and to be a part of the Dumb Zone community. Like I said, they're two pretty smart guys. It's kind of an ironic name. But if you ever get a chance and you're in the DFW area, I highly recommend the podcast, although it's not always child appropriate. So might not want to have your kids in the car for that one. But how can you create your dumb zone? Your passionate audience that follows you and will run through walls and will refer you business, will repeat business. They're the ones that can go on Facebook and social media and Instagram and they're going to sing your praises. So we got to first identify who that person is that we want our avatar to be, what their issues are, where can we find them, and then lastly, how do we get them? So that is the who, not how formula. It's very simple. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to give some inside the box examples and we're going to give some outside the box examples this morning. So the equation's pretty simple. First, we got to crack the who. We're flipping it around. Instead of going how to who, we're going who to how. So who is your ideal client? We're going to talk about how we can discover that client. Where do they spend their time? Where do they spend their time online? Where do they spend their time offline? The what problems or opportunities to serve that community exist? Are there problems that I know as a real estate agent I have the solution for? Are there opportunities that with my connections that I'm able to help that community with? And then lastly, and this is what becomes easy, when I've cracked the who, I figured out the where, I know what their what is, that's going to help make the how very easy. And so we're going to dive in today and we're going to talk a little about, start with the who, head to the where, figure out the what, and that's going to help crack the how for you. So I want to kind of preface this. This is an interesting class to teach because we've got to be very careful when describing an ideal client that we are not violating fair housing. I'm very cognizant of that. I spent a lot of time over on the West Coast working in Seattle, Portland, Oregon, California, where they take this a little bit more seriously maybe than in Texas. But I think we all really want to be cognizant, especially in 2025 or 2026, that we are not in violation of fair housing, that by selecting our who, we're doing it the right way. So your ideal client should be defined by their needs, their situations, their property types, their problems, maybe their common interests. We'll talk about different outside the box common interests that you could build a business around. What we don't want to do, and we've got to be so very careful, is we don't want to choose our who by picking on a race, a religion, a familial status, age, which is a protected class in certain states. I know it is in Texas, their national origin, or their disability. So we really want to focus on that blue box and find our client the right way without running across the fair housing. And one thing I want to keep in mind, when we choose our ideal client, just like Jack in the Box is not going to say no if a 75-year-old comes in at 2 o'clock and wants to buy tacos for 99 cents. We're not just choosing our only client. We are choosing the client we want to focus on, the kind of content we want to generate. Where do I want to spend my time? What social media site should I be on? As depending on who my avatar is, it may not make sense for me to be on Facebook or to be on TikTok or to be on LinkedIn. We've got to understand the who so that that can help us focus on that client set. Yet it does not mean that we do not do business with everybody. As an agent, when I was really producing, my focus was a lot on first-time homebuyers. Yet I've gotten to work with a lot of folks well over the age of 70 that I've helped move into that next stage of their life. So just because I was focused on one particular style of client does not mean that over the course of my career that I'm not going to work with other clients. Just like Jack in the Box wants to sell hamburgers to everybody, just like Old Navy's going to allow a 75-year-old and a 15-year-old to go in there and buy jeans, just may not mean that Old Navy is running ads to attract that 75-year-old versus that 15-year-old, but they're absolutely happy to work with anyone. We as agents always want to work with anyone, but we want to focus on our client, and that's going to really help us with that lead generation strategy. So who is your ideal client? And this first question, I think, is one that you really want to start off with. Who do I already have a relationship with? I always think of this story. I had a young lady that I was coaching and training, and we were hanging out in the back of the office one day, and she came up to me, and she's, I think, 22, big on TikTok. And she came up to me and she said, I want to go book a $3 million listing here in Dallas because how do I do that? And I said, well, you would book that listing just like you would book, a $300,000 listing, but why are we going out to look at it? You have a client? She goes, no, I want to go out there and I want to film a house to put out on my TikTok. And I go, great, I love that. You're getting out there, you're being proactive. I go, can I ask you a quick question? And so we sat down and we kind of had a quick coaching moment. I said, how many folks follow you on TikTok that are local here in the DFW area? And she's like I said, she was pretty popular on there. So she had over, I think, 5,000 local fans on TikTok. And I asked her, great. So of those 5,000 people on your TikTok, how many of them do you think in the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months will be in a position to go purchase that $3 million home? And she kind of thought about it for a second and she said, to be honest with you, I don't know that anybody in that feed. They're mostly young folks like myself. I said, great, kind of expected that answer. I go, now, out of that 5,000 folks on your TikTok, how many do you think could, in the next 12 to 18 months, reasonably see themselves getting a condo in the uptown Dallas area that was under $2,500 a month? She said, I think about 50 to 60% of them probably are going to be in a position in the next 12, 18 months to be looking for something like that in that area. I said, great. To me, I think her who was already there. And so we helped her shift that mindset of, yeah, we all want to go out and we all want to shoot house porn and we all love going through $1 million listings. But man, she already had a built-in audience of first-time home buyers, and specifically first-time home buyers that were attracted to a certain style of lifestyle in a certain area of DFW and a certain style of product. And when we help shift that mind shift in her from, man, I want to just do all kinds of real estate to, she already had an amazing built in audience she had done by being an online influencer. And we started creating content where she would go out once a week and film 3 condos in the uptown area and say, hey, all 3 of these condos can be purchased for under $2,500 a month. Hit me up in the DMs if you want the address to it. Her business exploded. She went from putting out content that wasn't really relevant to the who that was already built in to putting out content that was tailor made for the audience she already had. Now, had she come to me and she said, man, I do have an audience of 5,000 people, and I think over 50 to 60% of them are in that condo, in that uptown, in that young lifestyle, and that's really what I want, but I don't want to focus on that. I really want to get into the luxury. That'd have been fine, but at least she was making that cognizant decision that we're going to kind of get rid of these folks or really not market to them as well as we should, and we're going to have to build that audience. So I think before we even dive in and go, do I need to go find my who? Sometimes our who has already found us. We've already done such a great job in previous lives or in our real estate business of creating that who. We just need to now look at, are we putting out the right content? Are we putting out and solving their problems and their opportunities? Or do we need to either refocus on who or do we refocus on the how? So she was in a fortunate situation where she already kind of had the built-in who. It was just making sure that now we matched up how she marketed, the kind of content, the kind of problems that they had, so that she could build a lead generation strategy really tailor-made for the group that she already had. Pop in the chat real quick, make sure I'm linking. Beautiful. So, if you don't already have that who built in, what do you enjoy doing for fun? I had an agent one day, and this was a shocking one. I always ask the agents I coach, and this was a lady probably in her mid 50s, um, mom, 2 kids, pretty traditional Plano housewife, had gotten into real estate, and I asked her what is she doing for fun. And her answer was, what type of community do you want to build? And her answer kind of shocked me. She told me cigars. Turns out she was a cigar aficionado. I guess as a young girl, she had taken a trip to Cuba on a mission trip, really got into the hand rolled cigars, more the art form of it, not necessarily smoking them. And so we went out, we looked, is there an already existing DFW community for cigar smokers and cigar aficionados? And there wasn't a great one. So this is about 5, 6 years ago, built a cigar Facebook page in DFW. She went out, she started working with some local cigar shops. Today, that Facebook page, I think, is over 1,500 members. She is the sole admin for that page. So to get approved and be a part of it, she runs that community. She now does, I think, twice monthly meetups in cigar shops locally here in DFW. She works with all the major cigar makers, brings in the hand rollers to make cigars, and has basically created networking events based around the cigar community in DFW. So if you're a cigar enthusiast in the DFW area, you're A, most likely a part of some of her groups, and B, when it comes, even though she's the cigar lady, everyone has also learned that she's the cigar real estate lady. And so everyone in that community not only comes to her when they need to find a great new cigar that they want to smoke on, but they come to her when they have real estate needs. And more importantly, they come to her when their friends, their family, and the people that they work with and they know when they interact also have real estate needs. So yes, she gets to do a lot of business with like-minded folks that are cigar aficionados, but she's also getting to work with all sorts of types of people that are being referred to her that don't have anything to do with the cigar community other than they have a brother who happens to be a cigar enthusiast, who knows Sandra and knows, man, when it comes to real estate, this girl's not only going to be able to give you the best cigar to smoke, she's going to know everything about DFW real estate and fit the kind of lifestyle and needs, and she understands the avatar of that community. And so she's really built a huge community of about 1,500 people locally in DFW that are feeding her business daily. She's become a top agent. She'll do over about $20 million this year as a solo agent just by being the cigar agent in DFW. So, what do you enjoy doing for fun? Who are the kind of people you want to work with? We'll talk about this scenario, and we're going to kind of go use this as one of our examples. But this was an agent I coached up in Seattle, and we were kind of having the same discussion. And I asked her, who's your ideal client? Who do you enjoy working with? And she gave me an answer that still to this day I was shocked by. She goes, I really hate human beings. And I kind of was shocked, like I said, for a couple seconds and sat there and I was like, well, that is going to be a pretty big problem because in real estate, we tend to work with human beings. I go, so if you don't like humans, I don't know that aliens have invaded yet. We're not going to be able to sell them houses. Who do you like? Well, it turned out she was a dog fan. She really had a heart for dogs. And so instead of building her business around finding bigger houses for humans, she finds better backyards for your four-legged friend. She spends her days volunteering at the SPCA, at Operation Kindness, of going out to dog walks, being a part of dog mom groups. So she has built her community around dogs. Her business card is a dog paw print cutout. Her marketing is all about her dogs. So she took what she was passionate about, the who she wanted to work with. She didn't want to work with humans. She wants to know your dog. I kind of some days feel that way. I've always been that guy. If I go to a party, I'm going to spend more time hanging out with your dog and giving him treats and throwing balls than I probably am talking to the other human beings in the party. But she decided that she was so passionate about that her who were going to become dog owners and build her business around servicing the dog owner community in the Seattle area. So who do you want to work with? Who do I have a relationship with? What do I enjoy doing for fun? Who do I want to work with? What type of real estate problem do I most enjoy solving? In my career, I didn't love working with investors. Still don't to this day. Have I? Absolutely. I'm never going to turn down business, but I'm not going to go put on investing seminars. I'm not going to go put out wealth building seminars. I'm not going to put a lot of content out meant to get investors. It's just a part of the real estate transaction I didn't love. I was much more fulfilled handing the keys to a first-time homebuyer who never thought that was possible than I was giving somebody the keys to their 10th home. Now, what's great is we all get to do real estate how we want to do it, and that's what's cool about this business. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And so even though I don't work with investors, I'm sure a ton of you on here, that is your who. And so your content's going to be completely different. So what type of real estate problems do you most enjoy solving? I loved educating a first-time homebuyer on the process and helping them understand that it doesn't take 20% down, that you can put as little as zero down, that there are ways to help you get into a community and to own a home. Helping somebody that never thought that dream could come true, that was something that I was very passionate about. And so I made sure that that was part of my who, was that first-time homebuyer profile. So what type of transaction or property do you want to be known for? Maybe you really love that urban living and you love condos. That can become your who, condos. So the property type can help you kind of figure out the who. Maybe you're an avid golfer and you spend every weekend on the golf course. Well, then the who might be golfers and the property type might be golf course homes. And think if you can become known as the local agent who anytime anybody thinks of, man, I want a golf course home, everybody in your community is like, oh my gosh, you got to call Josh Smith. That guy, man, A, he's amazing. He'll get you out on the golf course. He's got a great membership to local country clubs, so he'll treat you to a round. But B, he knows every home on the golf course, man. He is out there. He previews them all. You know everything about them. That's when you figure out your who and what kind of property type that who is most likely going to be, then you really get to focus on and know a sect of the market. So while there are millions of homes in DFW, but you are the go-to guy or the go-to girl for the golf course homes, maybe not even for all of DFW, maybe you really hyper localize it. And that's the fear I think agents have when we have this discussion is, well, if I really get hyper local on just Plano, Texas golf course homes, man, I'm going to be missing so many people. Yeah, but when you dive in right and you create that community, just like the Dumb Zone that went from 1 million listeners a month on the ticket radio station to 7,000, they are a happier, they're making more money, and they have a much more passionate community. We've got to not be afraid that, yes, I'm going to shrink my audience by choosing my who. It may be a very small niche audience, but if I can really show that I'm passionate about it, it allows me to be my authentic self. It allows me to be connected with the kind of people I want to be in business with. That is going to attract them so much quicker than trying to be that general agent that's really not attractive to anybody. So it's all about helping you build that community, but allowing you to be authentic, have fun with it, and do real estate the way you want to do it with the people you want to do it. And then lastly, once you figure out, okay, these are the people I want to work with. What are their problems? What is the first time home buyer dealing with? What are the folks that live on golf courses? What are they looking for? What are the opportunities to help those folks? So it's really honing in on the who is going to next we want to identify where they are and what their problems are. Pop in the chat. Thank you guys for playing along. Attend wine tasting seminars, golf. What do you like? So love it. Thank you all for being a part of the chat. If you want to hop in the conversation, feel free to unmute yourself. We got about 10 to 15 minutes. I will make sure we get out of here by 10 o'clock. So once you figured out the who, then we got to figure out where do they spend time? Where are they spending their time online? What websites are they going to? What social media are they going to? You know, if I were focusing on first-time homebuyers, I'm not going to choose based off of age, but I do have resources like the National Association of Realtors that puts out a survey every year that shows us where the buyers are and what demographics make up the buyers. So I am able to use that information. So I've decided maybe first-time home buyers, I'm able to see through the National Association of Realtors what the age and demographics of the first-time home buyer in 2025 were. That's going to help me figure out where do they go online. They may not be on Facebook anymore. I'm an old man. My girlfriend makes fun of me anytime I show her a video that I think's funny. It's on my Facebook Reels, which is a thing. And she's like, babe, that video came out 2 years ago on TikTok. I'm an old man. I have a TikTok. I don't necessarily know how to use it. But I today don't necessarily, my avatar isn't first time home buyers. If it was, I probably would need to make sure I got a little bit better on Instagram and TikTok. Might not focus so much on Facebook and LinkedIn. Where are they spending their time physically? So I go back to that first-time homebuyer profile. If I wanted to work first-time homebuyers, where are they spending their time? What type of networking groups? When I moved up to Seattle, I had no database. We were up there for about 2 years, but I also wanted to sell some homes and make some money while I was working as a coach up there. So knowing the kind of clientele I wanted, it was at the time a lot of those first-time homebuyers, they were a little bit older in Seattle. They were buying the average price point of a first-time homebuyer in Seattle was a lot higher than it was here in Texas. So it made a great avatar and realized that I wanted to really focus on finding those buyers. I knew where to go online, but where did I go for them physically? Well, I found that for me, it was rec co-ed sports. I found that by joining a men's softball team, a co-ed softball team, a kickball team, a dodgeball team, I was able to meet like-minded folks that we had something in common, our love for sports, but that we're also going to kind of fall into typically into that first-time homebuyer or that move-up category. So I was able to explain to my girlfriend that it was important that I played all these sports and went to the bar after all these games because this is business. And that's the cool thing when you figure it. I say that jokingly, but that truly is one of the cool things about when you crack this equation and figure out the who, and it's somebody you're passionate about, and they share similar passions and hobbies and interests. you're able to spend time doing what it is you loved doing before you became a real estate, except now it's a business write-off. Now that's working, is going out and playing on a softball team and then going to the bar afterwards. I'm not a big drinker, but I'll buy that first round of beers and hand out my business card. I'm not too shameless to do that. So where are they physically spending their time? And then one question that I don't think a lot of us think about is who already has a relationship with them? Who might already be in relationship with those folks that you need to be in relationship with? Is it finding that right attorney to help you because you love working with folks that are going through transitioning stages in life, like the gentleman talked about this morning, divorces? So do you have a group of attorneys that you're working with that are helping send those leads to you? Do you have lenders that focus on the type of ideal client? You know, if I wanted to become the golf course agent, I probably want to have a lender that's also passionate about golf because they're going to have connections to the community that I'm wanting to build, and they can help me build that community faster. So who are the kind of people that already have relationships with your ideal client so that I can get into relationship and build my community a little bit faster? So these are just some ideal clients inside the box. I think a lot of us have probably kind of thought about these niches, but just kind of wanted to bring these up. We got the first-time home buyers that we've used as an example today. We've got move-up buyers now that I'm in my early 40s. That's a lot of my ideal clients are those move-up buyers that I help buy those condos in uptown that have now started families and they're now looking to kind of get a little bit more space. The school systems matter a little bit more. Do you want to focus on just sellers, on just downsizers, on investors, on luxury clients, on military, on relocation clients? But really, the more you can take, yeah, generic first-time homebuyer, but you can really, really break it down and create a much bigger community that is much more niche, I think you've got a great opportunity. There was a lady that came on that was teaching a class called The Riches Are in the Niches, and she was focused on military. She had a husband who was in the Air Force. And so when she first started in real estate, she kind of quickly figured out, okay, my avatar, my who is military. And then she realized, well, there's, a lot of military in the United States. So, you know what? My husband's in the Air Force, so I'm going to focus on Air Force. And she realized, well, there's still, quite a few members of the Air Force in their family, so maybe I can get a little bit more niche than that. And she goes, so, I'm a spouse of an Air Force airman. So she decided to create groups for spouses of Air Force airmen and realized that, yeah, that's good, but I could go even more niche. Her husband was deployed. So she created groups for deployed spouses of Air Force airmen. And then realized, well, but I really only worked, the Fort Bragg area. So created it hyper local. So she started off with yeah, I'm gonna be inside the box. I'm gonna work military. That is my who. But when she really dove down and realized that she wasn't military, she was the spouse of a deployed Air Force airman in the North Carolina area and built her niche out and built the community around that particular audience, her business took off. So it's really taking some of these ideal clients and digging even deeper and going another level and another level till I found who I am really, really passionate about. So now I want to go over a couple of outside the box kind of client ideas to kind of help maybe get those synapses working and help you firing. So I used the example of the Dumb Zone podcast that I'm a huge fan of. One of my goals in 2026 is to become a part of their advertising community. But they have already built that community. They're like-minded folks. I just took a listing this week, and one of the things the guy and I were talking about was the dumb zone. And it immediately put us on a different level. He kind of realized, okay, I kind of get what this guy's jib is all about, and vice versa. I kind of now know a little bit because we have that commonality. So one of my goals in this year is to become an advertiser on the dumb zone and to tap into that community. I think there is huge opportunity, especially after talking to some of these companies that are working with this podcast. For those of you across the country, there are podcasts in your city, I promise you. There are multiple ones in DFW that have audiences of, yeah, they're not like the ticket. I could pay to advertise on the ticket. That's going to cost me tons of money, and I'm going to reach an audience of 1 million people, but that is such a huge audience, there's no way I'm going to be able to nail my avatar down. versus the dumb zone where there's only 7,000 people. I kind of know who they are. They're just like me. And so I really could take a community that somebody else has already built and I can tap into it and help make that a part of my community. So are there local podcasts? Is there a local radio station that's got cult following in your area that you could help build a community out of? We gave the example of the dog and pet owners. Are you passionate about different, maybe you're a reptile guy, maybe you're the snake charmer of your neighborhood and you can get into that reptile community. I've driven by and seen those reptile conventions. It's a crazy looking group, but are those your people? Then become the reptilian agent. Everything you wear is snakeskin this, and all your branding is snakes. Snakes scare me to death. I'd rather be locked in a room with a lion, a tiger, and a bear than the most harmless snake. But maybe that's your thing, and you can go build that community. What are the hobby-based niches that you are into? Maybe you're an old school model train collector, but there's a community of folks out there that get together once a month. Or maybe it doesn't exist yet, and you build that community. So can I either tap into a pre-existing community, or is there a community that I can build? Just like Sandra, the lady I told you about the cigars, when we went looking, there wasn't a pre-built community for her, so she built that community, and today it's a thriving community of cigar aficionados in DFW, and she just happens to be the real estate agent of choice for that community. A big one that especially I would tap into, fans of sports teams. You know, some of you are down in the Austin area. Big Longhorn community down there. Are you tapped into the Longhorn sports community? Are you advertising through the Longhorn Sports Network? Are you tapped into that athlete community? Are you sponsoring events on game days? And for my Longhorn fans, I apologize for bringing up sports this morning. I know it was a little raw last night. Looked like an offensive foul on Purdue, but that's another topic for another day. Are you into gaming and streaming? I had a young agent that came to me a couple years ago, and that was what he was passionate about, was Dungeons and Dragons, and the online gaming community. And what we helped him do was build a local DFW community that meets up once a week for a D&D game at a local comic book shop. It went from, I think his first time he did it, it was three of us there. It's the first and only time I've played D&D. I wanted to go support my agent, and there was one other agent from my office. I don't even get invited to that today because I can't fit in the room because he's got an overflow list of people that want to come be a part of that community. So he took what he was already a passionate about, Dungeons and Dragons. He's built his whole marketing. All his email campaigns have little phrases that are all about the Dungeons and Dragons world, and he's taking you on adventures. All his marketing, his videos, his online presence, all about Dungeons and Dragons with a tie-in to real estate. But the focus is on that community, building out that D&D community that has allowed him to then brand himself as the D&D agent and build a huge community that he gets to go out every week and have fun doing what he loves doing. And then he gets to work with like-minded people so that at the end of the day, if the real estate transaction gets hard, we've got that commonality to go back on. Are you an outdoor enthusiast? Do you love going out and camping every weekend? Then there's huge communities of that. Tap into that. Are you a foodie or a restaurant enthusiast? Shout out to my girl Tia. I don't think she's on this call, but she is Taco Bell Tia. Taco Bell might not be the restaurant I want to go after, but man, she is a young, hip millennial, and she does every one of her home video tours. She tells you exactly how close the nearest Taco Bell is. She reviews all of Taco Bell's crazy, weird, wild products. That is what she is, Taco Bell Tia. Wouldn't be the community I built. She's built it, been passionate, loves it. She eats Taco Bell like 5 times a week and has built that community. So what are those kind of outside the box niches that nobody else is doing in your community that allows you to kind of become that expert in that community? There's a gentleman out of Orlando. Some of you might have met him. I cannot remember the guy's name, but I got to sit down and talk with him. This was a couple years ago at a convention, and this gentleman, he wears an Orlando Magic's basketball jersey with no sleeves underneath in the convention, and he is covered, and I mean covered from the top of his toes, top of his head, down to his toes in tattoos. His community is tattoos enthusiasts. Now, my 75-year-old father is probably not going to see this guy and go, man, that's the agent for me. My 38-year-old hippie weird brother, that guy is going to absolutely speak to him. And that's the cool thing about when you figure out your who, it allows you to be authentic to who you are, what you love doing, what you're passionate about, and build a community of like-minded folks. And that will make this business so much easier. And more importantly, it's going to help you crack that equation of how I want to market, how I want to lead generate. Because what keeps that group up at night? When you figure out the who, where are they? Now we got to figure out what. What are their issues? What are their problems and what opportunities? Because lead generation at the end of the day is simply just problem solving. What does your ideal client struggle with? Sample pain points if you were talking about first time homebuyers. They're confused about financing, they have fear of making mistakes, and they're overwhelmed by the process. So, knowing the who, where I'm going to find them, what their problems and what opportunities are is going to help me figure out the how. So, it goes back to that who versus who, not how formula. So, I'm wrapping up here. I know we got about 1 minute left. So, the who is your ideal client, where do they spend time, what problems or opportunities do they have? And then how do I help them? So, kind of just taking a look at two samples here that we've talked about today. Who? My first time home buyers. Where are they? We know they're online. They're searching the portals. They're on Zillow. They're on YouTube. We're more likely to find them on Instagram and TikTok. We can find them in person. We know that a lot of them live in rental properties. We know that they're on social meetups. And so my how now becomes I know who they are, I know where they are, I know what their issues and what the opportunities are. So my how becomes pretty simple. I want to make sure that I'm putting out content, that I'm creating first-time homebuyer seminars, that I'm doing rent versus buy business. I'm gonna farm apartments. I'm gonna join the social meetup groups that are most likely to have that avatar. Next example are the dog lovers. That's my dog Hayden right there driving our car to work. But where can I find them? We know that we can find them on Facebook groups. We know we can find them in dog parks, SPCA, and animal shelters. We know what their problems are. Dog owners, they want to have a good backyard. They want to be close to trails. They want to be close to the activities that they can do with their dogs. So how is going to be pretty simple for me. I'm going to sponsor the neighborhood dog waste program. So those little bins that you can go put your doggy waste in, they're all going to have the Hunter Webb Dog Realtor sign above them. I'm going to volunteer. I get to give back to the community that I'm passionate about, yet I'm going to be meeting like-minded folks. I'm going to create or join Facebook groups of local dog groups here in DFW. If there's not already one, I'm going to create it. We're going to be doing weekly dog walks. I'm not even talking about real estate. I'm talking about what I'm passionate about. I'm getting to meet like-minded folks, and then we're going to create those doggy meetups, and that's going to be my lead generation, is getting to spend time with the people that I most want to be in business with, doing the things I'm most passionate about, which is going to make this business so much more fun. So as we finish up today, it's your turn. Clarity creates momentum. So who is your ideal client? Where can they be found? What problems or opportunities do they have? And I think when you answer all three of those questions, it's going to help highlight for you how you can help. So I hope you got a little something out of today. I hope at the very least you start to think outside the box, who it is that you want to be in business with, what it is you're passionate about, so that you can build a community of passionate, loyal fans that will do business with you, refer business with you, repeat business with you, and more importantly, you're able to wake up every day and work with the kind of people you want to be in business with and have fun doing this business. It's okay in this business not to be cookie cutter. There are 1.5 million agents today. If all we're going to do is be as generic as we can possibly be, I think you're going to really struggle to see those gains and become one of the top agents in the country. And I know nobody on a call Friday at 9 a.m. wants to be an average generic agent. And so I hope you think a little bit outside the box and come up with some really cool ways to do this business. So thank you all for your time. Love getting to be a part of it.
Hun-
Look forward to being a part
Hunter,
of the
you
community.
were awesome. Everybody follow Hunter on Instagram and on social. One of the things you said that stands out so much is what type of real estate problem do I most enjoy solving? Y'all, this is gold. Hunter is sharing examples of the intentionality of slowing down the process to speed up the outcome, and EXP community is grateful for you sharing. So thank you, Amber, for the connection and nudging, right? That we all needed more Hunter in our world, and to all the EXP agents on the call. Happy Friday. Continue to be awesome. Thanks, Hunter.
Absolutely.
Happy
Thank y'all
Friday,
so much for
y'all.
letting me be a part of the XP community. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.